play each other team in the tournament twice throughout group stage. Liquid's got a taste of how everybody else plays now. They were able to defeat Flash Wolves the first time around. A lot of people were looking at these two teams as the two to be fighting over fourth. Let's see if they can do it again. Go head-to-head in not just those standings, come out on top there, but in the tiebreaker as well.
It certainly is, and already as we jump into pick ban phase, it is the normal bans coming through for Liquid, you know, attacking in on that early game champion pool and then taking away the flex picks that maybe they're not used to playing right now, Frost.
I'm actually just going to get curious if maybe we'll see the Sona and the Taric split up. We did try to see Liquid take a crack at that one. Didn't necessarily feel very good, but otherwise, like you're saying, there it goes. It was standard until that point.
Well, with Taric out of the picture, he's kind of the one that catalyzes a lot of those strategies. There's not really a substitute, whether it was the Master Yi and Taric funnel back in the day when that first got popular, the Sona Tarics of today, nobody really takes his place as Team Liquid will ban out the Jarvan here.
I find this really curious. The fact that TL banned from blue side both Rek'Sai and Jarvan. Now, I thought it meant that they wanted the Akali priority, but immediately you see Flash Wolves, they recognize that Jensen, you're not getting this power pick. I like Ryze. My question is, how far down does Xmithie have to go into his champion pool to find an 80 jungler that works for him? If he doesn't have Rek'Sai and if he doesn't have Jarvan, he's been going to the Hecarim, but they need something much faster in my opinion.
And I think that will be Olaf as we see this pick ban continue to go through, because Olaf does have those key win conditions of being quick early. We just saw our first Karthus of the main group stage, and it is so slow to get rolling.
And Olaf would absolutely dumpster something like a Varus, can just rock into that backline and start slamming him with those axes.
Well, that Varus is going to be the first pick here for the Flash Wolves. Got some lane power in that one. Remember the first time these two teams went head-to-head just a couple of days ago, Flash Wolves had a real big problem with Team Liquid. They only found themselves a single kill over the course of the game. Their solo lanes were heavy scaling champions in Vladimir and Azir, so I wouldn't be surprised to see them go for some more early game this time around. Tom Kench, the next lock-in for the Wolves.
And that's because the Flash Wolves have kind of fallen back onto their team fighting roots, when what made them successful in the LMS was their ability to have high tempo games. You know, we keep calling them a slow team in kind of the same bucket of TL, but if you watch them domestically, they were leaving lanes at 10 minutes, they were taking Rift Heralds at 12 minutes, and everything across the map was exploding. It's just at this tournament then they'd be like, we can't compete with the early game, we must always 5v5.
Yeah, they are defaulting towards that, but there have been windows where you can see them trying to break out of the mold. At the same time, TL going back to a global composition here. We said they haven't really decided, you know, the fast or the slow, the flex picks, or just what's traditionally worked. Well, this time, a heavy macro game can be set up through Ryze and Galio's ultis.
Fun fact, Kai'Sa Galio was actually the bottom lane duo Flash Wolves played against TL in their first meeting a couple of days ago, got smashed by the Lucian Braum, Doublelift and Core JJ getting the better of Betty and Shalcy in that matchup, but Flash Wolves are saying, we're going to go for some early game jungle action. The Rek'Sai and the Jarvan might be out of the picture, but Xin Zhao's ready to go.
And I want viewers to kind of pay attention to this. As Rek'Sai and Jarvan are kind of our #1 priority junglers and they're constantly getting banned away, pay attention to what teams are grabbing as kind of their next go-to. For Xmithie, it was things like the Hecarim, and for Boogie, it is his Xin Zhao. You know, each jungler has their signature pick, if you will, that they like to pull out.
And I just want to echo Kobe's sentiment that I don't like Xin Zhao into the Galio. It kind of shuts down a lane that you can gank early. Boogie made it work by attacking the top side of the map against Invictus Gaming, you know, setting the Shy behind. Pretty famous 0-7 performance there, out of the best player in the world. See whether Boogie can get Hanabi rolling in a similar way against Impact.
I mean, I don't know about you, but I saw the win right there, so still best player goes 0-7 wins game, no problem.
Better top wins in the all chat. We all know how that goes, but Flash Wolves are going to ban away that Gangplank. They're looking at the enemy team, saying that Ryze is likely going mid. Gangplank has been a staple pick for Impact, who has been having a pretty good tournament here for himself. As you already mentioned, Frost, he's definitely not the issue on Team Liquid right now in their losses, so they want to eliminate that. Also getting rid of the Trundle we saw from Xmithie earlier on.
It's kind of a double-edged sword for me in this GP. Like, you know that Impact's probably going to grab it if it's left open, so you can look for windows to punish if you have a good counter pick, if maybe you want to scale alongside of it and then just be more explosive in a late game. So I actually find it interesting that Hanabi's saying, no, we're actually going to try to pressure here. And this kind of points in the direction that Flash Wolves are changing their playstyle kind of mid-tournament. They're relying more on Hanabi in that top lane.
Yeah, they certainly are, and they've been able to ban away so many top laners here. You know, on-hit Nico as well as the Yori. Gangplank hits the bench, which means that Kennen is going to be the lock-in. Now, Rise has a good matchup into Kennen, but this will show whether Impact is comfortable taking a flex mage into a top lane to shut something down.
Which has been one of the conversations about Team Liquid. When Akali has been brought up before as an example for this team as a flex pick for many other teams, you look at Liquid and you think, oh, is that going to work? Can they actually flex it? And Team Liquid, they got the biceps curl, baby. They're saying, we've got the flex right now. Rise is going into the top side. It's going to be LeBlanc there for Jensen, and the jungler could be the Lee Sin. Still a little more time to think that one out.
This was his most played. Now, I know some NA analysts aren't super hot on Xmithie's Lee Sin, despite the fact that he did grab it a lot in this most recent split. But this is what I want TL to do. I want them to show that they have adaptation, that they have diversity. We can flex that rise to the top lane. We can play the early game, and Xmithie has no problem looking for a carry early game-oriented jungler.
Because when we talk about these two teams, there may be the two teams that struggle to get into the flex picks mode. Hanabi plays most of them, then Rather is more of the control mage player. The same criticism between Jensen and Impact. This time around, TL says we can play the stand and meta. Flash Wolves, however, going back to something a little bit more off-kilter.
Flash Wolves will have the Lissandra there in the mid lane, and that means we got plenty of initiation potential on the side of the Flash Wolves. And that says something to me in that this team wants to make sure when they see an opportunity, they can go for it. Whether it's Kennen, whether it's Lissandra, whether it's even Varus finding a Chains of Corruption. That's what I like to see from a team that hasn't had a great performance so far. Give yourself the tools, put yourself in the driver's.
And I love that idea, and I want to put a magnifying glass on Rather specifically. This guy is a great team-fighting mid laner, but he hasn't been known to have the widest champion pool. This draft looks a bit dated because of Lissandra. She seems to have disappeared, but for Rather, they're now recognizing we know exactly what makes you work, and it's things like the Lissandra.
And talking about dated champions, we got to see Invictus Gaming play a dated jungle Camille the other day, and you remember how that one went, so I'm not exactly going to count a champion out just because it hasn't been seen in the meta for a while. I've said it before, I'll say it again, time and time over. Follow your heart, play your game, win with the League of Legends that you know how to win with. And if this is the strategy that can get Flash Wolves going, they need to start picking up wins wherever they can. Fongfu Buffalo and Team Liquid are the teams that most people would look at for this squad and say, these are the ones you can approach. Here's the wins you can snatch. And if you're looking to fight for fourth, you need to get every single one of them.
Yeah, and this is the first start of the second round, Robin. So momentum, so key for both of these lineups. Really need this victory.
The teams are out onto the Rift, and it is match number 4 of the day here on Summoner's Rift. A rematch between Team Liquid and Flash Wolves. The two teams a lot of people are expecting to be fighting over 4th place here as Jensen makes his way into the mid lane, rocking that IG skin, not just a chroma.
Yeah, it looks very, very fly there. However, I want to hit on why Lissandra was forced out of the meta. We said what hasn't been seen all that much. However, nerfs coming in on this patch meant that the Q cooldown level 1 has gone up to 10 seconds. That means it's so hard to contest the first wave. Wave clear, a crucial way to shut down a roaming assassin. So I think Rather must be very confident to take this matchup into a LeBlanc.
And how it kind of bleeds into Boogie in that jungle is if you look at the likes of Varus and Tahm Kench, depending on how Doublelift and Core JJ play this, suddenly the whole bottom side of the map might be really dangerous for Boogie to enter. So this puts more emphasis on Hanabi in the top lane, which makes the flex pick of taking that rise up there to try to get that good matchup so much more important for Impact. He can totally pull the pin out of everything that Flash Wolves want to do if he just dominates Kennen up there.
And we have seen Impact, as I said during Champion Select, have some very impressive games so far in terms of his individual performance this tournament. He's the one that generally when people look at the Team Liquid roster, they say this could be the guy that you're most likely to see falter. There's so much hype around the acquisitions of Jensen and Core JJ, Doublelift and Xmithie, known as the best in their roles in their region. Impact's the one people have had some question marks around, but he's really been stepping up so far at MSI, and I think this is another great chance to prove himself and prove his caliber of player as Core JJ goes in for the taunt here bottom side, not gonna find it.
And why we kind of have the camera looked at this bottom lane, I want to challenge some of the preconceived notions that we have about Varus Tahm Kench versus the likes of Kai'Sa and Galio. Although I'll hold it, a little bit of back and forth. The idea is that Kai'Sa and Galio are trying to control the lane through their all-in potential and their massive damage output, whereas Varus is there with the Tahm Kench because he just wants to contest the shove, and it really will come down to how you play this 2v2, who feels more comfortable in these matchups, because it really can swing either way, depending on who's piloting those champions.
Yeah, and at the same time, Tahm Kench has always been one of those supports that packs a surprising punch if you ever overextend onto him as a melee champion. Now, you have a look at JJ playing the Galio, Smithy on something like the Lee Sin. You expect it to be a defensive lane, but bottom line is have shown us in the past that it can flip either side.
Both junglers are on the top side of the map right now, though. You can see the On My Way ping coming out from Boogie, indicating he wants to head towards that top side. Level 3 on the Xin Zhao. Smithy only level 2 here on the Lee Sin. No smite available for the Scuttle Crab. About to come up, so he goes right back in towards it, knowing he can secure it now. Boogie making his way towards that top side. He knows he's already been seen by the enemy jungler, so he'll sweep out the river, make sure that that vision's going to be kept out of the way for subsequent ganks. As Smithy heads back into his own jungle. Both of these guys very much aware that the top laners know they're around. There's not really a play to be made up here. Only a little bit of minor trading.
And while we're talking about the pathing of the junglers, so much of League of Legends is based off starting in lane right now, fighting for priority over Scuttle Crabs. And we've seen Lee Sin pick up popularity. You now start W on a lot of the camps. It keeps you very healthy. So whilst he was slightly slower than Boogie there, you saw that he arrives at the Scuttle Crab with both charges of his potion up, hadn't taken any damage. You have a look at Boogie. He's a little bit quicker, but he was half health and didn't have any of the potion stats there, so didn't want to take the trade.
And now the question is how will this actually impact the top lane matchup? They know that both junglers are going to be on the bottom side of the map, but on second reset, where does the wave get frozen? Where does the wave get pushed up? And who is opening themselves up to gank potential? Because I still feel like this is probably going to be about that top lane, although some skirmishing, possibly.
Smithy going in. It's going to be Boogie who acquires the Scuttle Crab, but Smithy's able to find the better of the trade early on here. Going to keep continuing forward. Aggressive ward hop to stay on top of Boogie. Sonic Wave number 2 likely going to be ready here in just a moment. Boogie fails to flash out of the way, and that is first blood for Smithy.
And we knew he needed to have a big performance if TL was going to turn this MSI around. Statement there from Smithy, picking up the solo kill.
And so many times he's been contested in his early game pathing, especially for how greedy he's been over those crabs, but it definitely pays off that time around.
And we talked about it, you know, the nerfs to Lissandra, the inability to fight for wave priority. Well, take it a step further, rather actually quite greedy, wanted to hold on to his teleport after his first back, meant that they lost all control of mid, all control of bottom, and no one could rotate to help the jungler.
And the positioning of the Sonic Wave was right where it needed to be too. Smithy making sure he was at a good angle to fire that one off. It didn't Boogie didn't get the flash off in time, excuse me. As you can tell, he wanted to try and wait and save it, see if maybe he could dodge naturally, but again, just a little bit of greed. It's a deadly sin for a reason. And it puts Team Liquid off to a small lead here for themselves. Jensen and Rather trading back and forth in the mid lane. And let's talk about Jensen a little bit, because this is a guy who in Team Liquid's wins, they are 2-3, about as even as you could be after the first round robin. And in their wins, he popped off. He looked really good. He was hitting some big score lines, making some big plays. But in the losses, he seemed to seriously falter.
And unfortunately, it's kind of that stack ranking there, you know? It's Jensen trying to look up to the likes of Caps, Faker, and Rookie and kind of take his natural tendency in that 4th place position, but you do want to see if he can kind of punch above his weight depending on matchup and make it work for him.
And this is an ideal first blood to really get Smithy rolling, because as you mentioned, it had everything there. Had the landing of the Q, the ward hop, as well as the weaving of the auto attacks with abilities beautifully for Lee Sin, as well as that last Q landing to secure the kill.
And you can see on the side of your screen there, 6-1 in 2019 spring for Smithy on the Lee Sin. Pretty successful pick for him overall, but I don't just look at Lee Sin players for their ability to find those early plays. It's a champion you really have to watch what a player can do once the mid game rolls around as well. If you can find those angles for the playmaking, as TP is used bottom and Smithy heads back out.
Yeah, it feels like the learning curve is really once the lane phase breaks down and how you can use him as an initiation or an assassination tool.
But much better from Smithy this time around. He got spotted on a ward heading upriver, and you could see that Boogie and Rather immediately tried to collapse into that bottom side river. He backs out the correct way this time around, not getting caught out. Liquid seem to have taken a lot of lessons away from their earlier losses.
Important thing I want to point out as we see Impact use his first teleport to get back to lane. Lost chapter in the inventory, no tier yet, so not going to be stacking that one early on. Tier, normally a priority for Rise. Impact will be a bit late getting that stack.
I mean, it could be that he just wants to be able to have more mana pool initially so he can contest with some of the wave push that Hanabi's putting out on this Kennen. Should be noted, it's also the spellbook Kennen. Used his TP, so is now swapped over to the Ignite. So again, if you're trying to compete a bit more with the wave clear that you have the mana pool versus the kill pressure for Kennen.
Rather in the mid lane, getting himself away with the claw. Smithy trying to make some sort of a move here, but considering no Dragon's Rage is available, it will be hard. Lissandra is a rather tricky gank target.
Oh, bottom lane here.
Bottom side, CoreJJ going in for the taunt. Chelsea doing a good job keeping Betty away from that one. Doublelift still going to find some good damage down onto him. Not quite enough to detonate the plasma, but still good enough to get some solid damage there. Boogie and Xmithy both going to be in this bottom lane now. Boogie coming over the wall. Xmithy could be in some trouble. Finding the Sonic Wave, having a flash away. CoreJJ thinking about maybe following this one up, but will back away instead. Health bar is not good for Team Liquid here.
Yeah, it was also the fact that Rather was cheating down towards the river, so they knew that maybe they look for the engagement tool, but unless they can instantaneously burst someone, and you're still looking at a Tahm Kench with Cleanse there, that Lissandra's going to very quickly be on top of you.
Man, I want to continue kind of the narrative of the item builds in the top lane, because I don't think it's only Impact that's got a slightly strange item build. We're going to see the Proto Belt coming out. Hold that thought for 1 minute. Maybe Xmithy getting invaded here, bottom side jungle.
Remember, he does not have his flash. Was used in the bottom lane play where he found himself in a rough spot against Boogie and the bottom lane of Flash Wolves, but Flash Wolves not going to invade this one any further. Xmithy wanting to get that level 6 as soon as possible. Very close.
And I want to kind of talk about why, before we jump back to the item builds, why this bottom river is so dangerous for TL. Now that you have access to Abyssal Voyage, as well as Rather making sure he's getting the rotations with Lissandra, this bottom river becomes Flash Wolves territory. It is really difficult for TL to find their window to move up in here safely.
Team Liquid are trying to contest this Mountain Drake right now. It's 4 Flash Wolves in the pit. Drake at about 2k. Jensen's made his way forward. It's going to be Chains of Corruption down now onto CoreJJ. Going to be blown up instantly. Xmithy over the wall.
Oh!
Able to find a nice kick onto 3. It'll be a 1-for-1 as Rather's taken down. Xmithy sacrificed there as well. Doublelift low HP, low mana. Hard for him to go in for this one. Jensen still plenty of resources to work with. Wants to snipe somebody on the back end of this fight here. Able to find some damage. Shall see one more auto attack would finish him off, but Jensen won't be able to find it. And that means no more Flash Wolves dying just yet. Jensen's still thinking about it. Maybe he can go forward. Maybe he can find something. Flash into the distortion. R means he's got it, and that is 2 over to TL's mid lane.
Yeah, so TL tie up that skirmish, but more importantly, force them away from the Dragon, the area that they had so much control over before they started up. As we take a look at this is actually only 3 members of TL having to come up and try and contest.
And it's just hero plays here. Xmithy, it looks amazing, because right now for Flash Wolves, you're like, oh no, it's over. But to find this type of hero kick, locks up 3 members, and then Jensen perfectly timed on the backside to have the follow-up damage.
Yeah, and didn't have the ultimate available, so no double distort. Could have been much worse initially for the Flash Wolves lineup. And you can see right now, Hanabi being forced out of lane. And I just want to go back to it. He's going Proto Belt. That's a team fighting build. He's got himself the Spellbook as well. He's trying to weather a tough lane. If he wanted to contest this, you would expect to see maybe a Gunblade, have the sustain option there as well as that 1v1 kill potential. Gunblade plus Cannon Ultimate plus Ignite should be enough for an early kill against Ryze, but Hanabi just doubling down on what the Flash Wolves do well, and that's team fighting.
Smithy grabbing that bottom lane Scuttle Crab gets him up to level 7. You can see Boogie had only just hit level 6 after taking his red buff. Xin Zhao not having the disengage from his ultimate could have potentially saved one of the Flash Wolves' lives during that river fight in the bottom side, but considering it wasn't there, was not an option. Doublelift going to continue pushing up the bottom side now. You can see a nice CS lead, the biggest in the game actually being built by the Team Liquid bottom lane, despite the fact that CoreJJ fell early. Doublelift is still doing a good job managing this CS, as now CoreJJ and Xmithy look to make the play onto Shao C. Doublelift coming in with the killer instinct. The burst damage comes through. Boogie's looking to make his way into the fight now. Can they turn this one back around? Answer's going to be yes for now. Boogie manages to make it a 1-for-1. Rather over the wall, looking to find even more damage, locking down his opponents, and Doublelift will be eliminated. Jensen now having to run himself away. CoreJJ at only 100 HP, and Flash Wolves get a 2-for-1.
And Boogie arrives just in time. TL there bit off a bit more than they could chew. The Flash Wolves close it back up, but still, it's this very tight race of who's going to control this river first, who's going to get access to this Mountain Dragon.
Yeah, and you can see that Chelsea looks like he's caught out of position, but junglers every single time this game have converged on bottom side river. Boogie gets a very nice flash into the knockback, stops CoreJJ's ultimate, and whilst it looks like Jensen is here first because there's only full health members, can't turn and fight, and that means Rather can clean up the gank.
And this is already a better game here for the Flash Wolves than the first time we saw them play against Team Liquid. Rather going to be taking some damage there in the mid lane. Nice save by Shao C, keeping Rather alive. And he'll walk away from that one. But yeah, the first time they played, I mentioned in Champion Select how there were no objectives taken by the Flash Wolves. They only got a single kill in that game, and it was at a 20-minute Infernal Drake fight. They're staying blow for blow here with Team Liquid.
Yeah, it was a really crappy Nocturne game. Like, it was where, you know, Boogie was looking for Nocturne ganks in the mid lane. Smithy was there. Okay, that one didn't work. Let's look for one around the Rift Herald. Smithy was there. Okay, that one kind of sucked as well. However, this time around, the more early game focused jungler is really helping out the Flash Wolves lineup.
And I love the fact that TL seem to have finally found their window. They know that they didn't have the didn't have cooldown on teleport, and he was back. So Jensen had priority in that mid lane, and suddenly TL swarmed this river and quickly snatch away this dragon.
First Mountain Drake on the board for Team Liquid, as now it's going to be a 1v1 here on the top side. Quickly going to turn into a 2v1. Impact trying to get himself away, and he will do it with a nicely timed realm.
Yeah, Hanabi's so aggressive that he kind of flashed over Impact there and missed a lot of the damage as the gank was about to register. So credit to Impact already rushing the Merc Treads. Very hard to tie this Rise down as the cannon at this stage of the game, just able to walk this one out.
Does have that tier in the inventory now too, so only a slight delay on that for the Archangel staff overall. Is going to still be going for the standard Rise build you would expect. Now going to be trading back and forth with Hanabi here in the top side once again. Finding plenty of damage here on the Rise. So much DPS potential from a mage like that, as Boogie and Xmithy could potentially get into a fight over this control ward here, but when Rather shows up, it's a fight Xmithy doesn't want anything to do with.
There you go. There's no reason to take that. Look at Jensen. He's under his tower. He'd rather clean up this CS and walk over and grab his blue.
You can see, again, the jungle is just always on the same side of the map. You can very much tell that the early part of the stage was about gaining an advantage for the key match of this game. It's going to be Double Lift versus Betty in a lot of the team fights. Both of these teams do like to group around objectives, do like to show that they're able to out-position and then out-team fight you. So, you know, let's secure advantages. And it didn't really go either way. Now, as they try and get their split-pushing threads ahead, back towards the top side, back towards the Rift Herald, that next objective.
Yeah, and that's a big curious point for me. It's the fact that with this type of composition that TL put together, they can look for a 1-3-1. And again, if we have kind of these two different buckets of teams at this tournament, it felt like Flash Wolves and TL were kind of your 1-4, your 5v5 teams. Sometimes they look for a 1-3-1, but not in the same way that IG or G2 would. My eyes are on how Jensen and Impact can rewrite that narrative and change it on the MSI stage.
And whilst both of the teams do 1-3-1 quite well, it's the collapse that you need to be afraid of. Because when you have a look at it, Rise with that Realm Warp, as well as Jensen on the flanks with the LeBlanc is going to be able to snipe out individual members, catch up the stragglers. Once again, converging around the big objective on the map. Now, however, Flash Wolves once again look to contest.
TP's coming in. Rift Herald going to be taken down very low. Boogie going to be the target here at the start. Core JJ looking to find some sort of a fight on the opposite side. It's going to be slicing Maelstrom into the middle of multiple people. Boogie going to be killed off first. Going to find a kill on a double lift before he goes, though. Core JJ going to be the next target. Xmithy already fallen now as well. 3 dead on the side of Team Liquid. And Flash Wolves will take the fight.
Yeah, Flash Wolves win the fight. Now they just need to guard this Rift Herald here. You can see that Jensen wants to get in with the distortion over the wall, but Xiaoxi spots him out. Can he get it?
Xiaoxi just playing bodyguard. Trying to go forward there, see if maybe he can chase Jensen down, get the Devour, but he won't be able to.
What's nice is while multiple members of Flash Wolves are trying to guard this Rift Herald, you can actually see the Impact was in the mid lane, getting some chip damage on that mid lane tower, and again, continuing to accumulate wealth as this Rise.
At the same time, Hanabi rotates into the top side of the map, starts doing the same thing there. So really, Flash Wolves come out much further ahead from the exchange. They pick up the 2 kills, but they also deny this Herald.
Taking another look at this one, you said that it was going to be about the big 5v5s, and both these teams were primed and ready to go for it.
But it was the 2 flanking options of Flash Wolves cutting off the solo laners of TL. That teleport on the control ward meant that Jensen, meant that Impact could not join the fight, and they also couldn't stop the engage.
And this is the point of the game where last time, Team Liquid pulled ahead and stayed there. It was the 13-minute mark or roundabout there where this game fell out of Flash Wolves' hands the first time these teams met. Once Liquid got ahead, they never lost that lead. But now here we are, 16 minutes into the game. Flash Wolves has a minor but still apparent lead of a few hundred gold. They stopped their opponents from getting that Rift Herald and securing the eye. Yeah, you got the kill, but it's worth, what, 100 gold at that point? It's not that big of a deal. Flash Wolves are looking so much better this time around. I'm impressed with how they've played so far.
But they have very clear kind of a telegraphed playstyle of how they want to play this out. Jake talked about the itemization choices from Hanabi, that this is the team fighting Kennen versus that side lane Kennen. So again, it's this idea of the 1-4, I'll hold it,
Smithy's in some trouble, knocked up into the air and beaten down by the spear. Boogie makes sure he grabs himself another one. 4-2 and 2 on this Xin Zhao.
It's about this aggression and knowing that you want a 5v5, that you're looking to constantly find skirmishes, find fights, and that Flash Wolves will keep throwing it at you. Whereas TL have options that they can try to match the 5v5 with their Kai'Sa, Galio, Ryze composition, or they can play those side lanes with Jinsen and Impact.
And this is crazy because Impact's hitting the turret. If they want to rotate Hanabi to the fight, just don't take the fight. Back off the blue buff, take the turret, play that slow macro game. But this was the criticism of TL, that they just love the 5v5 themselves, and that if you go to an objective, they'll randomly group around you, even if they don't necessarily have the tools, and still try and win.
All right, let's take another look at the fight down here, or should I say the pick, where Smithy finds himself in some trouble.
And this is what I'm talking about. Hanabi just gets the cheat, the quickest way through vision and get to the fight first. Meanwhile, Impact has thrown out no skill shots at all on the Ryze, and I would love to see TL just slow the pace of the game down. So you know what, we don't have to take every 5v5, every 3v3. We have the superior split pushes. Let's go into a traditional 1-3-1.
And that's what Team Liquid likes to do, slow games down. This team actually has an incredible first turret rate in regular North American LCS play. However, that's still a very slow time for their average first turret take. It means not only are they always securing those first, but they're making the game slow down to a point to where it doesn't happen until long after it usually would. We're 18 minutes in, still no first turret has been taken by either side. Only about one hit left on that bottom lane tier 1, and you know Team Liquid would like to find that.
And the unfortunate reality is that for TL and Flash Wolves, they really haven't been in the driver's seat for a lot of their games. And because it has been because of this absence in their early game pressure, which is being changed up. But how quickly can you learn on the ground at MSI, especially when you're looking at the big boys above you?
Well, you're looking at the big boys coming down to bottom lane if you're Impact right now, as Rather and Boogie go over the wall and are planning on making a dive happen here. With Hanabi also standing around nearby, this could be very dicey.
But look at the rest of the map. If they commit to this dive, what do TL get back here? There's nothing else they're pressuring.
Well, they're going to have to make sure they get something, because Impact is caught between a rock, a hard place, and a Lissandra ulti as the CC combo comes in. There you go, and that's an easy pickup there for the Flash Wolves. They'll take first turret off the back of.
And that was such a telegraph play. They even had to wait for the next minion wave, Clayton, but they just didn't channel the recall, didn't want to use the Realm Warp to get out early. That once again gives over control of Dragon. They use a very nice Tahm Kench ult to ensure that there is no counterattack here. Flash Wolves on top of TL.
And Froskuren posed the question, what does Team Liquid get from this? Look at the investment in the bottom lane, and the answer is a big nothing. Team Liquid seems to almost get nothing in response to this. Delayed, they will take the tier 1 turret in the top side, but Flash Wolves has already got themselves another advantage in claiming the Drake.
Yeah, it's the extended trade and trying to at least grab a tower right there. We'll see if maybe with the tempo advantage, the early reset, that they can set up some vision, look for a pick, but overall, this feels like Flash Wolves are certainly in the driver's seat. They're finding the fights that they want. They're finding where they want to fight.
And when we talk about tempo, because I think it is a really key point, it's who has the first move, who's deployed onto the map first, who's got their vision down, and deciding which objective we're playing around next. Who's deploying first? And Team Liquid there look for what I like to call a tempo cheat. After you take a turret, you normally go for a hard reset, recall, get your items, deploy back onto the map. But you could see Smithy and Doublelift teaming up, looking for one of those cheeky picks that Froskuren talks about. I call it creativity. This is how you wrestle control of a game back. Craftiness out of the veterans of Team Liquid.
And that craftiness is exactly what I want to see from teams that are considered in the lower of the two groups of these 6 teams at MSI. The conversation since the beginning of the tournament has been around, okay, you've got your IG, SKT, and G2 group that clearly seem like the elite, and the Flash Wolves, Team Liquid, and Fangbu Buffalo group that want to challenge that. You do not challenge it by ramming your head into them and trying to play the same game they do. You challenge them by challenging the convention of League of Legends and making them play something different.
I mean, the thing is that League is such a paint by numbers game at this point. Everyone can kind of figure out once the lane phase drops, you look for this dragon. If that's not up, you're playing around the Baron, you move your vision in, wave priority. Like, you can throw as many buzzwords as you want, but it's about that problem-solving ability.
Topside Rather's going to sidestep the chain there from Jensen. This top lane tier 1 nearly down on the side of Team Liquid. Flash Wolves could find some more standing gold in that one. They currently command about a 3,000 gold lead over their opponents. Nothing to scoff at 21 minutes into the game. If they can find another one of these successful fights, Baron is also on the table now. But one thing I'm not noticing a lot of yet from either side is a ton of vision on the map.
Yeah, and that's where the next step comes in, because you can see the control wards have started to be purchased right now for Team Liquid. Finally, Impact gaining that control over the bottom lane. and it's all about who gets access to this mid lane first and is able to get their supports into Fog of War.
Yeah, this is the big thorn in everyone's side. As soon as one of these mid lane towers goes down, suddenly then you can start leveraging your vision elsewhere. But again, TL have more options. They can try to play their side lanes as Jensen's caught out.
Jensen forced a flash over the wall there. He had distortioned over the golem wall, knew that if he went back, the Lissandra would be waiting on him, so he was forced to use the flash instead.
And it's the right call there because, again, you're trying to pressure multiple points, rip flash wolves around, and then slowly but surely either find a pick or chip away at mid lane tower. The problem was that the setup wasn't there, and you're also telegraphed. We know what TL want to do. They're trying to do it. Flash wolves know that as well.
Yeah, but at the same time, when you've cleared out mid lane wave, very easy to take Smithy, core JJ into topside jungle and do the job that Jensen was trying to. You can see so much vision being fought over right now around that Baron buff river. Once again, you know where they're playing, but if you just lock people in lane with your superior push, your superior control, mistakes like that should not happen.
Jensen's going to be farming up this minion wave here in the top side, and as more gold gets added to his pockets, let's take a quick check-in on the itemization that we're seeing from both sides. Second item breakpoints are starting to come in from multiple members from both sides, and considering when we look at summoner spells, the vast majority of them are up on both sides, and by that I mean the only summoner spell down is Jensen's flash. The next team fight is going to explode.
I actually really like this choice of lane assignment here for TL. So not going towards the LeBlanc at the top lane, but trying to play around the Rise. And not only just because Hanabi was kind of the one guy showing on the map, but who does Jensen kill right now? Like, what kill pressure does the LeBlanc have? He's standing, he wants the Varus, but Varus is standing next to Kench. There's Lissandra, who should be able to stall out long enough. And when you have an Abyssal Voyage, it's very easy that if Jensen doesn't get the immediate kill, that suddenly Flash Wolves can find that skirmish and be on top of you.
Not only that, if you do want to play around Baron, the easiest way to do it is have a very strong split push or push into the tier 2 and put pressure on one of the best team fighters on the Flash Wolves lineup, which is the Kennen. You can't push that far unless you have vision, so you need your trio from the mid lane to come secure that for you. Now, it means that Impact will feel a little bit safer as he pushes up, and I expect the next wave for TL to actually either, well, it's going to be a hard reset. I was going to say vision over the top side, but doesn't look like they have the vision for it. You know, no trinkets available here, running out of control ward, so they instead have to go for a full back.
And as they back, that's the signal for Flash Wolves to move up, clear some of the Team Liquid vision out of this neutral territory, place some of theirs down in that frontal part of the Team Liquid jungle, and maybe put some damage onto this tier 1.
I think it's the call about the Mountain Dragon. You know, maybe TL are trying to think ahead that if we have double Mountain, yeah, we lose some damage here, but we have the full reset for the Dragon fight that's spawning in 15 seconds. So maybe we cheat that one away, lose the mid lane tower in short term, but have the long term of a possible Baron burn with Kai'Sa double Mountain.
You can see Team Liquid heading towards the Baron right now.
Or maybe
They're
we just
saying,
do it
all
now."
right, if Flash Wolves want to go for the Mountain Drake, we can burn the Baron down ourselves. I mean, they have a Rise, they have a Kai'Sa, they have a Mountain under their belts already. It's not that hard to do, but Flash Wolves sniff that out.
Yeah, that's a really kind of high reward, low risk play right there. You just gut check it. Is it warded? Because again, one Mountain Dragon, you have a Kai'Sa, you grab it, you burn it, this game completely looks different. And maybe you catch them in cheeky backs here, but that said, it does mean that they prioritize looking for that type of play and do end up losing out on the Mountain.
That is another objective, going over to the Flash Wolves. Team Liquid, a squad that's normally pretty on top of that neutral objective control, very high stats in terms of Drake and Baron percentages in regular play for the North American LCS. However, this time around, the Flash Wolves are managing to go pretty even with them.
And we keep talking about the two buckets that we've put the teams into, and Flash Wolves and TL, along with SKT, were the slower, more methodical, you know, play the game of League of Legends out a little bit more standard. So whilst the average game time is between somewhere, you know, 30 to 33 minutes, generally at this MSI, looks like we're in for a longer one. None of these teams very aggressive at trying to secure those objectives. We're not seeing the dive in for the team fights past that early game phase. See whether any of these teams can get the macro leads they're looking for, because it does not look like these side lane collapses are working.
And I want to go back to something Froskurin said earlier, talking about how, unfortunately for both these teams, they felt like passengers in their own games against a lot of the other teams here so far at MSI. And it feels like the indecision so far in this one is indicative of that, as now a team fight's finally going to be starting off. Core JJ coming in, able to find a 3-man ultimate, but it's Hanabi into the middle of multiple people. The slicing Maelstrom will cut through Jensen, and Team Liquid has already lost their mid laner. Support will follow, and the Flash Wolves will take the fight.
And just as I think the game is slowing down, Flash Wolves pull the trigger again. That could mean the Baron, 2 members of TL dead, all 5 up for the Wolves.
And it was the fact that TL tried to make that play happen, but Flash Wolves just said, immediately turned turned it on, pulled the trigger, and blow them up. Now easy access into the Baron. Here comes Lee Sin, maybe a hope. Now he's gonna walk away. It's done.
Not even gonna bother to contest that one. Recognizes he'll probably be killed instantly if he goes even near the pit. Granted, Impact got a tier 2 during that time, but trading a tier 2 for a Baron and one of your own guys, as well as having everybody else just in a bad spot, not really worth it. Let's take another look.
I question this play from Team Liquid so heavily because you know Impact does not want to join the fight in the same way Kennen does. He stays at home. He hits the turret. Look at what Hanabi is able to do to the entirety of the Liquid lineup. That is just a bad read from Team Liquid.
And for everything that we can leverage at Flash Wolves, you know, some of the mechanical mistakes that we've seen over the course of the MSI, something that is standing true for them is their teamwork. This is a very good teamwork, one decision, one mind team. When they turn to team fight, it doesn't matter if it's a good look, if it's a bad look, it's going to be a Flash Wolves look.
Exactly. They're all on the same page, and now I'm excited to see what can they do with this Baron power play.
Well, if anything, they've been incredibly decisive when they have pulled the trigger. You know, they haven't been able to manufacture as many fights as I'm sure they would like around the objective, because this is a team in the LMS that every Dragon that is up tries to pull 5 people there. Every Rift Herald up, try and pull 5 people there. Liquid wasn't playing that game for the entirety of this game, but now that they're in a situation with the Baron buff, with control over these waves, they can just look to manufacture it.
We're going to see Impact going in here, looking to start something off. TP going to be coming in from the Flash Wolves, and that means Team Liquid has to back away. They try to go for a pick, recognizing the split members of the Flash Wolves side, but can't make it work.
It feels like a constant situation where TL trying to call Flash Wolves bluff. Like, are you ready to fight now? Are you ready to fight now? And the answer is always absolutely yes.
Top side, let's see if Jensen can make anything happen onto Hanabi here. Won't be able to. Drops the Ignite looking for the kill, but the follow-up damage is not enough.
This is actually good news, though, in the long term for TL, is that their lane assignments for LeBlanc and Ryze are looking good against Hanabi. But Flash Wolves, while TL are trying to set up the map, are still taking away all of the objectives and feel confident enough that they're able to get Hanabi into these team fights and kind of disregard some of that side lane pressure that TL do have at this moment.
And if you're saying that both side lanes are in an advantage right now, then the decision to fight becomes even more baffling for the Liquid lineup, because we've seen that Hanabi in the side lane is getting pushed into, is struggling. And then you have a look at what he's able to do in the team fights and the effectiveness as Kennen with that proto belt as an overall champion, you know, now going back, has himself a stopwatch. He's just going to have so much impact. So not being able to split up the map, not being able to keep Hanabi away from these key fights seems to be the kind of the biggest problem right now for the Liquid lineup.
Well, Baron has about another 45 seconds left to go. A couple turrets already knocked down on the side of Team Liquid. Flash Wolves have got themselves a few small advantages from it, but not a game-breaking Baron power play so far. Critically for Team Liquid, every single one of the inhibitor turrets still stands. They haven't had their base broken. There's no inhibitors exposed. No free ground for Flash Wolves to wage those battles on in Team Liquid territory. We'll see if TL can continue holding out. Impact is going to be stationed up here at the top lane, tier 2, but considering it's 4 Flash Wolves members pushing in, this will not stand for long.
Yeah, and you can see Dragon being disregarded by both lineups right now. Instead, they're looking for the standing gold. It is only the Cloud. Impact's not going to be able to rebuff that. The mid lane turret, the last echo of the Baron, do they look for the final play here?
Flash Wolves 5 men strong here in the mid lane. You do have that Slicing Maelstrom ready to go on Hanabi. Ghost in place of Flash thanks to Summoner's Spellbook.
So that should have been the final play of the Baron. Nothing left available right now. Look for the reset. I feel like they still are sticking around. This is where it becomes a little bit more risky.
Because they know TL are looking to bite right now, and Hanabi, if he gets that flank, I really like the vision, though, from TL here to actually catch Hanabi looking for the flank and now backing out from this. It should be easy access to the Dragon, but Flash Wolves are fine taking this trade.
But remember what Spawn mentioned earlier, talking about who's going to be the one who starts things off first, who's going to have that small little lead in terms of time. When Impact is across the map and has to TP in, it's a 4 versus 5 for the first 3.5 seconds of that fight, and that's long enough for Flash Wolves to win.
But Impact doesn't want to fight. He's like, guys, just hold the fort. I'm out. I'm going top lane. I'm going to go hit some minions. I want to become a 6-item Ryze that they cannot stop.
Which just means that the rest of the responsibility on this TL squad is to be patient here. You have the ability to disengage, so stop getting engaged on.
Well, the Chains of Corruption found their way onto Core JJ, but he did a good job buffering it with the Justice Punch to get away. Impact will continue laying siege to this top lane tier 2. 2 more auto attacks would seal the deal there. Unfortunately, the minions will not last long enough to provide that time. Anabi's going to be split pushing here in the bottom side to sort of respond to that with equal pressure on the other end of the map because he wants to stay away from the end of the map where Impact currently is.
Yeah, I don't know if it's so much about equal pressure as it is just try to get the free farm when it's available for Hanabi. He's like, LeBlanc can't be around here, Rise can't be around here, the minions are mine.
Here.
But you'll never watch him come up to that tower unless he knows exactly where all 5 members are.
Or unless they have control of mid lane with Tom Kench ducking into Fog of War and the ability
And he's
to
got
join.
the Calvary.
They have the lockdown CC. They do also have a stopwatch. This is a guy at level 17 can live through the initial burst with the equipment he has and bring in the cavalry.
And we've got 45 seconds until Baron spawns for the second time. Elder Drake will now be the next dragon that spawns for the rest of the game, although he won't be rearing his ugly head here for a little while. Plenty of wards placed down by Flash Wolves in the Team Liquid jungle there. You can see some of those being swept out now as Team Liquid gets to go out of their base after being stuck there for a while during that Baron buff. The Flash Wolves still in control of this game. They have been for quite a while now. Still about 5,000 gold up. The good news is it's been like that for a little bit now, so Team Liquid aren't necessarily still bleeding out. They've staunched it a bit, but they've still got an uphill battle to fight. Name of the game is let that Rise scale. And for Flash Wolves, it's to try to end this before he does.
Felt I was watching the observers get tilted a little bit there, but it's fine. Doublelift noticed the ward. He came back. He got it. Everyone, calm down.
And this is kind of the last bastion of hope. You know, you talk about the last stand, and Impact probably doesn't want to use teleport for the rest of this game unless it is a cleanup scenario off the back end of a Jensen pick. Keep Hanabi here. You only get so many bad decisions against a 1-3-1 comp. You know, you teleported the first time, sure, you got the Baron, we took a turret. Well, next time we're going to start breaking the base. You make one more, I'll just end the game. So Hanabi has to ensure that the fight has very much started in a decisive fashion for the Flash Wolves before he can even look to leave this lane.
And while I agree with you, Spawn, the one thing, or the caveat that I want to put on that is that it's TL's 1-3-1. Like, if it's just a 1-3-1 comp, completely agree with the analysis. But right now, Team Liquid haven't proven to me that they can actually punish side lanes successfully with their decision-making here.
Well, they're going to punish Boogie as they take about half his HP up, and now the counterattack coming in. Flash Wolves looking to start this one off. TP's coming in from both of the top laners. Core JJ is already going to be eliminated. Doublelift now going to be in some trouble. 4-man lockdown from the mid laner. It's a double kill over to Betty, and the Flash Wolves will rend Team Liquid asunder.
And once again, that might be the Baron. Instead, they actually ping out mid lane wave. They could just look for the end. It's only Jensen left standing.
Flash Wolves have not missed a knockout stage at MSI before for every time they've been a part of the competition. Team Liquid have never made it past groups in international competition. Team Liquid were off to a lead against Flash Wolves earlier on in this tournament, going 1-0 the first time they fought. But now Flash Wolves are in one hell of a spot to tie things up. Nexus turrets fall, Nexus under siege. Flash Wolves win!
And in the battle for fourth, the LMS will not be forgotten. You think this is done and dusted? TL, North America, guess again. Get the salty tears out, because this is not a free ride.
LMS striking back as the second round robin begins. Flash Wolves fans were rightly concerned during the first half. 1-4 was not the kind of record they were hoping for, but coming back and taking down Team Liquid like that, your most likely primary contender for that fourth place spot, has got to feel good.
And when you see the way in which this game went, you know, Flash Wolves playing flawlessly towards win condition. Every objective they could force Team Liquid to go towards, they fight. Versus Team Liquid's inability to stick to the plan, to allow Rise and LeBlanc to side lane, was huge.
Doublelift looked shell-shocked there.
Yeah, this is not a place where Team Liquid wanted to find themselves. Remember, we heard Doublelift's confident interview just a couple days ago talking about how they felt like they were one of, if not the best team at the tournament. They said, yeah, we're going to go in, we're going to smash, we're going to win. This is going to be how we play. Things are going to be different this time. But now to lose to Flash Wolves, a team that you beat so handedly the first time around, Team Liquid's got to go back to the drawing board and really look at the mistakes in this one.
And frankly, it kind of feels like two different approaches here. You had TL, who tried to find the adaptation. They grabbed the Lee Sin. They were trying to play into their side lanes. They're playing more for the early game. You know, they're trying to bridge that gap. Whereas on the other side, Flash Wolves just went back to comfort. They grabbed the Xin Zhao for Boogie. They had the Lissandra for Wrath, and they said, we don't need to change anything about us. We just need to keep doing what we do best, which is fight you.
And remember how the game started? It started in such a great way. with that solo kill for, one of the most struggling members with these decisive plays in the bottom lane. It looked like they understood where they needed to get ahead, but Flash Wolves just had the read and the ability to get there and be able to clean up these early fights and then eventually get the cannon involved. Swung the momentum.
And for all I want to credit Flash Wolves for these team fights, again, they're one brain. When they turn, they all turn together. They move as that cohesive pack. TL picked so many bad fights. They had the side lane advantage. It never worked out for them. So yes, Flash Wolves, they grabbed the throw, but that was still a massive chunk from TL.
And this is another 0-2 day here for Team Liquid. Yep. After starting off 2-0, after inspiring hope for North America on the first day, things have been looking a little rougher here the past couple. They've really got to make sure they turn things on here soon. There's 2 days left to play for this team, and they've really got to find every win they can now.
And on the flip side of that is the fact that Flash Wolves are now playing their way back into a disastrous tournament. Day number 1 did not look great for the Flash Wolves. The LMS squad, we were having the conversation, when does the VCS overtake the LMS region and claim that bye in the play-in stage? Well, at the moment, Flash Wolves seem to be very much heating up as this tournament progresses.
When does the VCS overtake the North American region?
Hey, let's not get ahead of ourselves here. Let's not get ahead of ourselves.
I'm just pulling up Reddit comments right now.
The graph, the gold graph there actually looked eerily similar to what we saw the first time these two teams played, just the opposite. Team Liquid, as I said during the game, pulled ahead at 13 minutes and stayed there in game number 1. This time around, it was Flash Wolves pulling ahead around 14, 15 minutes and just staying there. You saw how red the gold graph looked. Flash Wolves in control, never lost it. MasterCard is putting the best esports fans in the spotlight too, though, during this competition by surprising fans of the day with official Riot merch. These 3 Hanoi natives are cheering for Team Liquid, SKT, and G2, and today they could celebrate with some Wukong plush courtesy of MasterCard, and we'll see if it's the SKT or G2 fan that can smile after our next game as their favorite players clash in the mid lane.
Yeah, and the next game is so important, I feel like, for both of these teams. Coming off disastrous losses, whichever way you want to look at it, in very recent matches, going to be another momentum shift.
And showing that we just saw the fight for 4th there, that is not done and dusted, that there is still a lot of fire there and still a lot of conversation. The same thing can be said about the battle for 2nd. Yep. Korea versus Europe. Who can actually really just stamp their mark on that one?
We might be in the back half of group stage now, but it has only just begun. When we return, it is time for SKT versus G2, the battle for control of 2nd place. Don't you dare miss it. We'll be right back.